ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, chapter number 20, and beginning from verse number 7. So this chapter is describing Lord's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Prithu Maharaj. Lord was very pleased by Prithu's demeanor of stopping the sacrifice on instruction of Brahma, and therefore he personally manifested there and spoke with Prithu. And he appeared there with Indra and asked Prithu Maharaj to forgive him. So although we read earlier that when Lord Brahma spoke, then he stopped the sacrifice and he made truce with Indra, but it looks like that he has still not forgiven him. So sometimes we do things because somebody is saying, but we may not be really accepting it in our heart. So maybe Prithu, he stopped the yajna on instruction of Brahma, but still maybe feeling some like agitation in the mind towards Indra. Therefore Lord said that you forgive him. So that means, and therefore he is saying that don't have any hatred for anybody. So because Lord is saying it, that means maybe Prithu still had something lingering in his heart. Otherwise what was the need for it? Because it is not easy to give up this feeling of hatred and envy, jealousy, anger. These are very strong emotions. These are some of the very basic emotions. It's hatred. That's why Raga and Dvesha mentioned as two of the kleshas, two of the big miseries of human life are Raga and Dvesha. So it's not easy to give up. We may sometimes suppress them because of the circumstances, as Prithu did. He stopped, but inside maybe he was still burning that I want to teach a lesson to this Indra if I get a chance. So that's why when Lord came, he spoke to him and he said that you forgive him. And then he talks a whole thing about not envying anybody, not hating anyone. So obviously Prithu Maharaj must have had something in his heart still sticking around. If you put some camphor in a bottle, you take out the camphor, still the smell remains. So like that, still the smell is remaining, it's not clean. And sometimes the smell can be very powerful. So it was still there, therefore he has to speak so many verses continuously on this topic only. So although Indra seems to be a bad guy here in the story, but actually he has done a great favor to Prithu, if we see it from spiritual point of view. Because of Indra, now Prithu is becoming free from the envy, hatred completely. Because Lord is speaking and he will obviously take the words of Lord and get completely free from this. So this is all because of this whole episode. And Lord became pleased with him because he did not try to do the 100th sacrifice. If Indra would not have obstructed, he would have completed his 100 sacrifices. There was no reason for the Lord to be specially pleased with. But now he is specifically pleased because he sacrificed the sacrifice. So this is actually Indra's benefit of Indra creating disturbance. So sometimes when we get problems, we think that why this problem is coming to me, why this is happening to me, but actually from spiritual point of view, the problem may be a grace only. And we may not see that at that time. Later on, we may deliberate on it and understand that actually this was a great grace on us. And mostly it happens like that. When some problem, calamity comes, we don't think that this is something welcome or something good for our life. So we should try to see things from different angles. Otherwise, we have our own concept and God works in a different way. So God's ways are mysterious, and we should become expert in seeing how God works. This is also the part of education. Otherwise we have our own old experiences, old habits, old way of seeing things. So we have to give up those things. So this whole thing, ultimately who benefited from this? It is Prithu. Although Prithu is an avatar and there is no question of him being envious of benefiting. But if we try to learn from the episode why the story is being explained like this, that it is he who benefited, not Indra. Indra remained on his post as he was. He did not get any grace, but Prithvi is the one who got the grace of the Lord. He is the one who became glorified because of Indra. So when Hanuman was in search of Sita and he went to Sri Lanka and found Sita Devi in this Ashok Vatika, and Sita was very distressed because she was kidnapped by Ravana and she was kept under the care of all these demonic people who were even, some of them were at least were troubling her. So when Hanuman went there and he gave message of Lord Ramchandra, then Sita was happy. Then he was hungry, so he went into this garden and started eating the fruits as monkeys do, and also started destroying it, as also they do. They eat, they destroy. So he was jumping around, eating, breaking trees. And then the protector of the garden, they came and tried to stop him, so he smashed them. And then he told Sita that actually if you want, you come and sit on my back and I will fly you away from here. You just take off. I'll take you back to Lord Ramchandra, there is no need to be here. And he would have done it because he was a strong person. He was powerful enough to do that. Nobody would have stopped him. But before the news goes anywhere, he would have gone. So Sita refused. And it is very interesting that why she refused. She is suffering there in the midst of all this, and someone has come who wants to release her from this bondage. It was like she was like imprisoned, and she refused to go. So she told Hanuman that I appreciate your offer and I know that you are capable of doing this, but I prefer to stay back. So Hanuman was also surprised why someone will do that. So she said that if I go with you, then it is only your glory and there will be no glory for Ram. But I want that Lord Ram comes and he kills this Ravana, and thus his glory will spread. So she tolerated the suffering to make Lord Rama glorious. And Lord Rama became glorious because Ravana kidnapped Sita. If you would not have done that, then there will be no Diwali. This festival which is coming after 3 days. It's actually celebrating the victory of Lord Rama over Ravana. He came back home. So there will be no this festival, no Dasa, no Ramla. So it all happened because of Ravana, who created so much trouble. So sometimes the troubles have another side to it, as we see here. And when the trouble comes, then only our character is tested. If there is no trouble, then we don't know whether we are really gentle person as we appear to be, or we are something else. So then everybody appears nice. So our problems, the other side, this is revealed when the problem comes. Or even if it is there, if it is not there, then we know that we are free from problem. So it is only when some difficult situation comes, when problem comes, that we realize that what is inside us. Like reading this story Did you read this
Yeah.
story about Steve Jobs? And he makes this point. Besides telling, he gave this lecture in the Stanford University in 2005, and he said that when he got fired from his own company, can you imagine somebody founded a company and then he was fired from his Apple? So he explains this whole thing, that how he was fired, and he was 30 years old and I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really did not know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. And then he talks about, he says, I met with David Packard and Bob Noyes and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, because he had a name, and even thought about running away from the valley. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that dishonor for a respectable man is worse than death. Sambhavitasya purushasya kirti. Sambhavitasya cha kirti marnadati richyate. So he was obviously a popular person, and now he is thrown out from his own company. What a disgrace. So he says, but something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I had been rejected, but I was still in love, and so I decided to start over. I did not see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have happened to me. He's making this own statement. And he says, I did not see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. Because he was to success in such a young fellow. Less sure about everything, it freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. So then he goes on explaining very nicely and then he talks about his death.
The same man who is owner of Apple. I know that before he started Apple, he was in connection with Hare Krishna. He was chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah, he says that.
He said that this.
Yeah, in the story he actually says this, because he dropped out from the college, and then he says that he's talking about how he was in the college, and then he dropped it because his parents, it's very interesting, his life story. His parents were very poor and they're paying so heavily for him to stay in the dorm. So he didn't feel good about it. So he dropped. And the minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that did not interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked interesting. So since he dropped, now he could go to some other classes. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple.
Thank you, Lord.
So at least that much he spends going to Sunday feast. He came to India also.
Yes.
Yeah, he stayed in some ashram also or something.
So what is it called? Those who worship Hanumanji, isn't it?
Neem Karoli. Yeah, so he had some interest in spirituality. Definitely. That's why his speech, if you read, it's quite
used to do.
philosophical type. As if a person knows things and he talks about death also. He says every day I was thinking. He talks that when he came to know that he's dying, he says all this prestige, money, he says it all just lost all meaning for me. He says it has no meaning that somebody is praising me. And every day I see that this may be my last day. So he must have heard all these talks and so on Sunday feast. Yeah, he talks about karma in the very beginning. He says about karma.
He actually became more like a Buddhist after that. He followed Zen Buddhism after he left his Nimkaroli.
See what?
He went to Nimkaroli, but there it says that he was disappointed and then he turned to Buddhism. And so he followed Zen Buddhism for some time. And he went back to America with shade and heaven with a Buddhist follower.
I have not read. I only read this part. But I know that he came to me.
Some prasad and some holy name and being around is also part of the experience.
So anyway, the point which we are discussing is that when troubles come, then don't just feel frustrated. Maybe God is teaching something. Even if you don't understand it at that time, just be patient. So he has his own way of teaching. Maybe in a straightforward manner we will not accept it. So he has to shake us up from our moorings where we are very much stuck. So he approves section. Then later, when this thing gets into our head, we understand. So therefore he was talking about, he spoke all this, that if you understand that we are not the body, then how can you be envious? And if you remember death, then all these things lose meaning. Once you understand I'm going to die. So there is a very nice verse in Hatopdesh that Ajaramarvat Pragyo Grihite Vikesasu Ajaramarvat says that one should practice dharma, one should earn knowledge and money thinking that you will not die or become old. But one should practice dharma thinking that your hair are caught by the death. So it's very interesting. So now in this verse number 7 he speaks about the Lord, His presence. He says, Ekaha Shuddha Swayam Jyotir Nirguno Sauguna Sarvagona Sakshi Niratma Atmatmana Paraha. Says that Lord is one and He is pure, He is self-effulgent and He is transcendental to matter, He is Nirguna. But He is the shelter of the gunas, Gunashaya. So Lord is free from anything material, but the whole material world is sheltered by Him. And Sarvago Navrita Sakshi Niratma Atma Atmana. He is everywhere and He is not limited by anything. He is the witness of everything and there is nothing beyond Him. He is the soul of everyone and He is beyond the living beings. So these are the characteristics described here. Anasaktehe karanam atmagyanam. So what brings detachment? Knowledge of soul and super soul, knowledge of God. And that knowledge is being given. Ataha paramatma jnanam upadishati. So therefore he is giving the knowledge of the Lord, of the Supreme Controller, Paramatma. Atma, Paramatma, the word Atma here means Supreme God. Atmano dehat divacha paro bhinna eka. So God is different from the individual living being. Sometimes there are people who have philosophy that everybody is God. You are also God. So this verse says that it is not true. He is Atmanapara, he is beyond the Jiva. He is separate from the individual living being and separate from the material body also. Because he is only one. The living beings are many. How can everyone be God? It will be a very big problem if everybody is God. And they will fight. And who is going to stop that? If everybody God and all gods start fighting with each other, they cannot kill each other because they are gods. They cannot also be defeated because each one is God. So we are not God, God is only one. एवं अशुद्ध प्रकाशहीन सगुण गुणजन्यत्वात् गुणाधीनत्वाच्च गुणाश्रित जड़त्वात् अनुरूपत्वात् च असुवर्गे देहेन गृहादिभिश्च आवृते. So the living being, this body is impure, it's full of impurities, and it is not having any light of its own. It is having light because of the presence of the soul in it. And it is saguna. It is made from the gunas, the material elements. Sattva, Rajas and Tama. And it is under the control of the gunas. Gunadhina. And it is jada, it is inert, so therefore it does not belong to the same class as the Lord, and it is covered, and it is salep drashtritvat cha sakshi, it is not the witness.
Jhana means inner. Jhana means inner.
So the quality of the Lord are just opposite of that. Sajivatvat, saparmatkatvat cha satma iti deha jivabhyam navdha valakshanyam paramatma. So these are the 9 distinctions between Lord and Jiva, individual living being, and Lord and material body. That he is one and Jivas or material bodies are many. He is free from the gunas, we are not. He is independent, we are not. So all these qualities. Etena eva jaivasya dehena sah navdha valakshyanam cha darsita. And in the same way, just as Lord is different from the living beings as well as from the material body, the living being, the Atma, is also different from the body. So the soul is also separate from the body, and God is separate from both soul and body. That is being described here. Yevam santam atmanam atmastham ved purushah najyate prakritisthopi tadgunai samai stitah. So what is the benefit of knowing this? Says that one who understands like this, then he becomes free from the bondage to the matter. Otherwise it is not possible. So as Krishna says, Janma kalam cha me divyam evam yogati tatvata tattva deham punarjanma meti mameti savarjana. Says that his birth, his activities are transcendental, divine. And anyone who can understand this becomes free from the cycle of birth and death, and after giving up this body, one becomes associate of the Lord and goes to the kingdom of God. So that is the benefit of having this knowledge. Therefore, so evam santam atmanam atmastham veda purusha. One who understands the Supreme Lord, who is situated in the self, then he is not implicated, although being situated in the Prakriti. So even though we may have material body, if we understand God as described here, then we are free from the conditioning of the material body. Yasvadharmena mam nityam nirashihi swadhyanvitaha bhajate sankaistasya manorajan prasidati. So he says that one who worships me, endowed with faith, having no material desires, by following one's own dharma, then slowly his mind will become happy. Because now mind will not hanker for unnecessary things. Mind is unhappy because we harbor so many desires. And desires always lead to suffering. So desires come in the mind. It is not necessary that we have to hang on to those desires. We can also just observe them, unless they are desire for spiritual upliftment. But what happens, the desire comes in the mind and then I say it is my desire. And then we become attached to it and we want to fulfill it. You can also think that it's just a desire coming in the mind. Why I have to say it is my desire? The same desire may also be coming in some other's mind also. Isn't it? So many people have common desires, so it is not only your desire.
Isn't that desire a very nature of mind? It's like one of the, a natural sort of intrinsic behavior of mind is just to desire. It's just the object is always changing, and as you mentioned, it's to have the spiritual uplift. Isn't that our job to sort of narrow it towards that direction?
Yeah, but you can also train the mind not to have desires. Now we have trained it to have desires. But you can also train it. And then you will not have the desires. So that's why he said nirashi, not having any desires. Because once we understand the purpose of life, we understand God or relationship with Him, then we don't desire. And when we say desire, means material desires. We're not talking about spiritual desire. So that we should have that.
You also mentioned that we have to realize that we're not the gods. But isn't that distinction and that separation of people from the God is not the main cause of what is going on around the world? It's just because human beings just simply don't realize their spiritual identity,
Yeah, that is that ignorance we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. That relates to that.
That which came with the kam karma. Yesterday that verse was there, that ignorance, from ignorance comes desire, and we act on the desires. And then when we act on the basis of desires, then we are caught in the law of karma, bondage of karma. So then you have no choice. Once you are bound by karma, then you lose your choice and you are forced to act. So that's what is going on. Like animals, they don't have any choice. Whatever the senses are guiding them, they just don't. They are helpless. So those human beings who do not have control over their mind, which means they do not have spiritual knowledge, they are also like animals because they are simply guided by their senses and mind. Only thing is that out of ignorance they think that they are controlling. They are really not controlling. But Maya makes them think like that they are free. They are free to think they are making choice. But actually they are just yantra rudhani Maya. As Krishna said that the soul is sitting on this machine made of Maya. And just rotating. Dhami and Sarvabhutani. Wandering. So Maya is making them wander from one species to another species to another species. We are changing our bodies. Sometimes higher birth, sometimes lower birth. And this goes on. So this is the situation. And we can become free from this only by worship, surrender to God. So Sadhyanavita Bhaste Mam Sankais Tasya Manoragam Prasadita. So he is saying that you are king, so you should also follow your Swadharma. Swadharme Nidhanam Shaya Pardharmo Bhayava. So to act according to our nature is very important. If we try to act according to others' nature, then we get into trouble. Because then we are being unnatural. And being unnatural, we will be imbalanced and dissatisfied. And then this dissatisfaction will pervade our life. So therefore he says that Mano Rajan Prasidati, the mind becomes happy, peaceful, not dissatisfied. So we have two types of dharma. One is related with the body and one is related with the soul. Bodily dharmas are different for each person because we have all different bodies. But the dharma of the soul is same for all, and that is surrender to God, worship of God, devotion to God, love of God. This is the common dharma for everyone, without any discrimination. That's why it keeps coming again and again. परित्यक्त गुणः सम्यक् दर्शनो विशदाशय शांति में समवस्थानम ब्रह्म कैवल्यम अश्नुते. So what happens when we worship and we become devoted to God? So he says that then person becomes free from the influence of the gunas. Now we are totally under the influence of gunas. So we know about the hormones. Gunas we may not understand, but at least we understand hormones in the body. And hormones are the ones which are controlling our life. So one type of hormone comes and then it changes our mood. behavior. So according to the modern medicine, it's all play of hormones. And according to our philosophy, it is all play of the gunas. So gunas are manifesting through the hormones. So we want harmony in our life. But if we are under the control of these hormones, there is no harmony. So he says that you become parityakta guna, you become free from these hormones. And samyak darshana vishadasa, then you have proper vision, proper understanding. You have peep into the reality. Now people have asamyak darshana, improper understanding, confusion, wrong ideas, and vishadashaya, your heart becomes expanded. No pettiness of the heart, no weakness of the heart. So then shanti me samavasthanam brahma kaivalyam asmati. Then one attains peace, one becomes sama, situated in equanimous state, undisturbed. Then no hormones can disturb. So then that is called yoga. Krishna says yoga samatvam yoga uchyate. That yoga is to be balanced under all circumstances. So just as in Ayurveda, health is that when the humors of the body are balanced. So here also spiritual perfection is when you are balanced. Yoga means balanced in the mind. Ayurveda is more dealing with body, and yoga is dealing with the mind. So then mind becomes balanced, undisturbed. Then it is peaceful. So Brahma Kaivalyam Asnute, then one tastes the absolute. And there is Brahma Sukha. So it is not that if you give up this Indriya Sukha, these material pleasures, then you will be starving. But then you get pleasure coming from inside. Anta Sukha Antararama Tatha Antar Jyotirayavasa. So there is pleasure within, happiness within, and illumination within. Now we are looking everything outside. We are looking for pleasure outside, happiness outside, illumination outside. So then it will be all inside. So that is Brahma Kaivalyam. So Sri Vishnu says that Sa prakritistha dehastopi dehagunai najyate iti na dehastha. So such a person, although situated in the body, is not implicated in the body, is not influenced by the body. That's what means not influenced by the hormones. Let me sound how is it possible. So then you can see the play of hormones, play of the gunas. You can see anger coming in or envy coming inside you, but you don't become controlled by it, you don't act in it. You can just see it, observe, not be influenced. That is possible. So ayam ukta lakshana prabodho bhakti misrena jnanena yat manasya bhavati tatsadhana. So this type of realization comes when one has knowledge mixed with devotion. Simply knowledge is not enough. So you have to have devotion. And one practices that. Yatmana means practicing. So then when you engaged in the spiritual sadhana like this, then one realizes. So then what happens? It says Shanti Masnoti. Then one tastes peacefulness. So although we think that giving desires is the quality of the mind, to the nature of the mind, yes, for a common person that is true. But when you practice like this, then mind becomes peaceful, no more desires.
Would you compare it to a tornado, which is like active outside, but there's absolute stillness in the very center of it? So is that would you?
Yes, so you become peaceful like that inside. So what is the meaning of this peace? Santi mevaha me samavasthanam mam sama nirbhedam avasthanam samanya avasthanam. So he says that such a person becomes like me, like God himself. As God is peaceful, not disturbed by anything, then a sadhaka also becomes like that, undisturbed, peaceful. So then, therefore it says that he tastes the absolute reality, Brahma, Kevala. And udasinameva adhyaksham dravya jnana kriyatmanam kutasthameva matmanam yo vedapnati sha. So then he becomes udasin, indifferent. Udasina literally means asina, means to be situated. Same word like asana. You see it in asina means sitting. And ut means above. So udasina is translated as indifferent. It literally means that you are sitting above. Means now you are above the gunas, above Prakriti, and you are watching everything. It's like God maybe sitting on the top and looking at everything. So that is Udasina. Udasina miva adhyaksham. And yet you are the superintendent. Everything is happening under your control. And what is this adhyaksha? Dravya jnana kriyatmana. And your body, your mind, your senses, they are all functioning under you. And you are not disturbed by anything. So now you are not attached, you just watch the play from this. So therefore Kutastha means unchanging. Kutastha means like a hill, like a mountain. So this iron piece on which you put another piece and you hit, that is called Kuta. The base, that is very strong, solid. So Kutastha, you become stable like that. Nothing disturbs you. Kutasthamim atmanam yo vedapnati. One who understands oneself like this, then he sees the beauty of everything. Apnati shobhanam. So kevalameva darshayati udasinamati. What is the meaning that he tastes? The absolute stated in the previous verse is being described here, that he becomes indifferent to all the distractions, disturbances caused by body, mind, senses. Adhyaksham eva sthitam, although he is like the director of everything, yet he is indifferent. So dravya jnana kriyam atmanam adibhut adidev adhyatmanam. So these are the three divisions. We have body, we have senses, we have mind. Adhyaksham jivam jivatmanam udasinam eva tesho anasaktam. So not attached to any of these things. Saivam kutastham atmanam sees oneself as immutable, unchanging. Ya paramatmanam vedas abhavam prapnoti iti avrityam. And then not only he knows himself like this, then he also knows the Lord in the same way. And then by that one becomes free from birth, etc. Atra iva karena samyak udasinatva bhavepi sadhan dasayam jnana siddhi suchayati. So here it is stated as udasinam iva, like indifferent. Means even when you are practicing, you are not completely indifferent yet. Still you understand this. This knowledge comes, although you have not totally become indifferent. So that is the outcome of this. I'll stop here.
Babaji,
Yes.
I want to share something with the class which is so pertinent to your subject tonight. A few nights ago, I was feeling very nostalgic and I was going back to when I was much younger and I used to like to hear all these love songs on the radio and records. And I started thinking about what I was doing many years back. And then I said, oh, I was feeling like sad. And then I said, I don't want to think, I mean, what can I do? I can't go back in time. So then something inside of me said, sing to Krishna. I have this picture of Gopal in my room. And I just started singing with all my heart to Gopal. And as I was singing, I felt like, this is what I need to do. It just felt very real, and I felt full. And at one point, I was all these like love songs. I was just singing, and it was almost as if Gopal was eyes were twinkling, and his mouth seemed to like turn up. And the more it looked like he was smiling, the more I sang. I don't know if I disturbed anybody. And I was saying, this is the person, this is the love, the beloved. And I was, after that, I felt like more complete, and I was able to go to sleep soundly. But it was just so I never thought ever to sing to Krishna. I said, I'm just going to sing, give him all these love songs. No, I never experienced anything like that. I only want to share it. It's very moving to me.
Yes, it's a very nice experience.
I needed a connection. I wanted
So
to
the
connect.
grace comes.
Yeah.
This is one way of grace, another way which we have been studying. So there's sometimes what you call sweet chutney, sometimes hot sauce. Two ways of the grace. But it is always a grace. So devotee actually sees grace in everything. That's how we should see. There is nothing else but Lord's grace only. We should become habituated to see the grace. Tatte anukampam susamikshaman. In Bhagavatam there is a verse like that. And the devotees, what they do is tatte anukampa. Anukampa is another word for daya or kripa. Tatte anukampam susamikshaman. They are always looking for it. All around they only see this only. as if there is nothing else. So this is the mood of a devotee, seeing the grace. Bhunjana eva atma kritam vipakam. And then whatever situation is coming, they go through it, seeing that this is the outcome of my past karma. So hridvag vapubhir vidhan namaste jiveti yamriti kadeshanari. Paying obeisances to the Lord with one's speech, body and heart, which means mind. One who lives like this, he becomes qualified to be with the Lord. Just living like this, seeing the grace of the Lord. Brahma himself is saying this to Krishna. Tattenu kampam se sumikshana bhunjana eva atma kritam vipakam hridvag vapubhir vidhan namaste yo mukti padesa daya bhak. Daya bhak means inheritance. It's like father as a son, and son inherits the property of the father. So you become qualified to inherit the property of Krishna. Any other question?
As you're speaking about attaining that position of being indifferent, so one may, transcend the modes, but say the devotee in a position where those who are against Guru and Krishna, he's not going to remain indifferent in that situation.
Not indifferent here means when some people maybe like Indra was disturbing him.
Yeah, personally.
Yeah. So then you don't try to retaliate with that or waste your energy. You continue with your service, or there is some situation which is unfavorable to you in the sense that it is causing distress to you. So you don't become influenced by that distressful situation and then drop your service and sit down. Sometimes people say, well, it's too much for me. I need some leave now, some vacation. So not like that.
It means when the heart extends.
So you are not envious, you are not like envy, hatred, this is contracting, this is mind, and how can you come?
It's contracting.
So like when you are happy, then what do? You want to give everything to others. It's an expansion of heart. Even physically it actually expands.
Someone compared that to being like a flower, blooms just with a beauty and stillness, and let it go. In that terms, they put it as a butterfly to come to you and sit and just, share everything, I found it quite a good comparison. It's to manage to actually, what's the word I'm looking for, cultivate the beauty within us, and just let the goats share the treasure, which are, as you mentioned and said, we are inheritance of the treasure of God. So, sorry, just want to share.
Alright.
Is there a class tomorrow? Is there a class?
Not that.